Before my speech, I will show you my roadmap. Observation, contention 1, contention 2, plan, contention 3. Again, observation, contention 1, contention 2, plan, contention 3. In this order. So may I start? Observation. I will present some basic information of our analysis. 1. Aging Society in Japan. Sponich Annex 2012 quote. On 30th, National Institute of Population and Social Security Research published the Japanese future estimated population, which said Japanese population will decrease to 86,740,000 in 2060, from 128,060,000 in 2010. Therefore, the population will drop by 41,320,000. The proportion aged over 65 years old will change from 23% in 2010 to 39.9% in 2060, which demonstrates the aging population. It will impact on social security, such as pension or medical insurance, unquote. 2. What is consumption tax used for? Ministry of Finance, 2012 available quote. The expense boundary is decided in general precision of budget filled by income of consumption tax. Consumption tax 4%, local consumption tax 1%, 29.5% of consumption tax to local, 56.4% to country for welfare budget, basic pension, elder medicine, nursing care. The cost filled by income of consumption tax is 15.1 trillion yen, unquote. 3. That's because consumption tax is broad-based tax and a big source of revenue for the government. Therefore, Japanese government wants to raise consumption tax for making social security strong. Move on to contention 1. We will present the current situation. 1. In the current Japanese situation, pension system is about to break because social security cost is in deficit. The website of Ministry of Finance 2012 available quote. Social security is the cost for pension, social insurance, or livelihood protection. Because of the rapidly aging society, the cost is increasing, and it is one major cause of the budget deficit, unquote. 2. About 60 of elderly people rely on pension. Therefore, they are going to lose their lifeline. Policy on Cohesive Society from Cabinet Office, 2012 quote. When I watch the income of the household of old people according to kind, it becomes clear that a public pension is the biggest income. Next is work income. By looking organization rate of the number of the household, it is clear that public pension is the gross income in the more than 60% of household of old people, unquote. Move on to contention 2, impact. We will present what is going to happen in future without the affirmative plan. 1. Because of lack of revenue, Japanese government can't manage social security. Therefore, lots of elderly people will be suffered by no medical care or no nursing service. 2. Who is elderly people up above? It is not your grandmother. It is you after getting old. If we keep status quo, you will not be able to get pension. 3. There is a serious revenue shortage for basic pension. In the end, the government bond expands to cover the loss. Yomiuri Newspaper 11 quote. The government entered the stage of issuing emergency bonds on the presumption to repay them by raising the consumption tax in future in order to cover about 2 trillion and 600 billion yen of revenue shortage of national expenditure on basic pension in the fiscal 2012 budget. This is because it became difficult to cover the loss by borrowed money like accumulated fund by special account. But if raising consumption tax does not happen, the national bonds will need to further expand. The Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare required 10 trillion and 674.3 billion yen as national expenditure in the 2012 budget request. 8 trillion yen out of them has been guaranteed by consumption tax, while about more 2 trillion and 600 billion yen has no prospect. Therefore, the Fiscal Finance Ministry and Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare promote adjustment to cover the shortage of 2012 by issuing the bonds and repaying by raising consumption tax in future, unquote. Plan. To solve these problems, the Japanese government shall raise the consumption tax. Mandate 1. Shall raise the tax rate from 5% to 7%. Mandate 2. Shall accumulate tax revenue when it exceeds the demand of each year. Contention 3. Solvency. I will present what is going to happen after taking plan. 1. After plan, the tax revenue will stably increase. This is because empirically, in the case of consumption tax, the revenue increased by raising the rate. All about 10, quote. The consumption tax was raised from 3% to 5% in 1995. The consumption tax collected 6.3 trillion yen in revenue in 1996. Then it increased to 9.3 trillion yen in 1997. Thereafter, it collected 10.1 trillion yen in 1998, 10.4 trillion yen in 1999, and so it remained at a 10 trillion yen level. We can conclude that the tax revenue increased at an equivalent level of tax rate increased. Therefore, calculating from past experience, we can say increase of consumption tax rate functions to increase its revenue. Besides, it's hardly affected by economic effect, and it leads to ensuring the tax revenue, unquote. 2. Thanks to the stable tax revenue, Japanese government can manage social security like medical care or nursing service. That's why elderly people can live happily. 3. Especially pension, which is main causality of budget deficit, will be covered by consumption tax. So, when people turning over 60, they can get pension from government, and they can manage their own life. 4. Because we get the revenue from the consumption tax, we don't need to issue new governmental bonds. It is good for Japanese economy. It is good for Japanese government to manage the country. That's all.
The affirmative speech will be examined by the negative within 3 minutes.
Thank you for your speech. I will now begin my question time.
Yeah, sure.
Your Yomiuri evidence. Yomiuri?
Oh, what is
Your Yomiuri evidence.
Yum?
Yomiuri? Yomiuri?
Oh, yeah, Yomiuri
Evidence.
newspaper, yeah.
Yes. It says the alternative to raising consumption tax is that the government will issue new bonds.
Yes, because under the status quo,
Yes,
here.
I understand.
Yeah.
Why is issuing new bonds bad?
Because the Japanese governmental bonds means the debt of the government, Japan. So if this debt increases, it
Yes.
means the future our burden increase. We have to repay this debt in sooner or later.
So your assumption is that if the government issues new bonds, the borrowing cost or interest rates of the government will increase, correct?
What we want to say is just so increasing bond itself is the bad thing because this is the
What?
governmental bet, you know.
Yes, but why is the government taking bets bad?
Because compared with no bet or having bet, of course, no bet is better.
Why? Every government in the world issues bonds, including the US government, the Chinese government, the Russian government, the UK government, and the EU government. What is bad about the Japanese government paying for a pension system with bonds?
So, because even in status quo, annually 2 trillion yen is lacking. And if it continues, of course that continuously the bond have to be have to be issued.
Yes,
So if
new
we
bonds will have to be
issue-
issued. I think we've established. I'll ask a new question. Your evidence that says consumption tax will be able to solve pension is from All About?
Yeah, in
What-
quotation 3.
What is All About?
Okay, I will
What's it all
explain shortly. So, All About is from about.com is an online source for original information and advice.
Does original information mean opinion?
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Your advantage says that Japanese society will get older. How long will that take?
what do you mean?
How long will it take for Japanese society to get more aged?
More aged. So,
Okay, thank you.
Preparation time for the native.